So in today's video, I'm going to try and make it a little easier for those who can't choose between a high or low sense. Whether you're switching to PC from console or mobile, or you just want to change your sense because you're tired of it, stay tuned as I try my best to make it a whole lot easier for you to make this switch from a higher to a lower sense or from a lower to a higher sense. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to subscribe for more. So I have to mention that you're probably not going to get a perfect sensitivity first try. It's going to take some trial and error. It's going to take some messing around to find out how fast or how slow you want your sense. It took me a couple days to figure out the right sensitivity for me. Right now, I'm a low sense gamer. I prefer the lower sense because I feel like I'm more accurate. I've been a low sense player my whole life. In every game, I play to prioritize good aim over anything. I feel like I can win most of my fights solely off of my aim. So yeah, as I was saying before, it's going to take some time to find out how fast or how slow you want your sense to be. To determine if a high or low sense is better for you, you first have to figure out if you are an arm or a wrist gamer. First up is arm. For those who don't know what arm aiming is basically just moving the mouse with your whole arm. You're using your whole arm to perform an action that is taking place in the video game. Arm aimers are usually tied to lower sense because it's easier to control your sensitivity while using your whole arm. My sensitivity is pretty low. I use an 8.5 for my X and Y sensitivities with a mouse DPI of 800. This sensitivity is well balanced and I can perform all the necessary actions. Next is wrist aimers. Now, wrist aimers only use their wrist to perform any action in game. Wrist aimers are tied to higher senses because of the sole fact that they're only using their wrist to move. It wouldn't make sense to have a low sense while being a wrist aimer because it would just hurt your wrist a whole lot. So now let's discuss the disadvantages of choosing a high sensitivity. The main one is just controlling it. You don't want to make your sensitivity so high to the point where it becomes uncontrollable. You want to find a sensitivity that you can control. Keep in mind it's going to take a lot longer to get used to the higher sensitivity. You're not just going to pick it up within a couple of minutes. It's going to take a few hours or even days to fully get used to the higher sensitivity. So if you thought that you were just going to pick up the sensitivity and instantly be good with it, then I'm sorry, that's not the case. Now, there will be some times that might happen, but it's all up to the person and the sensitivity they choose. I tried a high sensitivity in the past and had what I just mentioned in mind. It left me frustrated and I would end up giving up within a few hours of changing my sense. Now, it's going to be a whole lot easier to learn a lower sensitivity. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a whole lot easier for you to control a lower sense than a higher one. That's the only disadvantage that I can think of when it comes to playing on a higher sensitivity. Now for the advantages. The first advantage that comes to mind is that your movement will be a lot more snappy. You will be able to react to what's happening in game a lot faster than if you were on a lower sense. With a higher sense, you will be able to click on the enemy's head a whole lot faster. That extra second that you take can be a deal breaker in winning the game or not. In Fortnite, you will be able to build and edit a lot faster. The higher the sense, the easier it will be to build and edit, but the harder it will be to control. Now for the advantages and disadvantages of using a lower sense. The first one is pretty obvious. The lower the sensitivity, the better your aim will be. If you're someone like me that wants to prioritize aiming over anything, then I suggest going with a lower sensitivity. You won't be as fast at building and editing like if you were on a higher sensitivity, but your aim should make up for it. It is also much easier to build the muscle memory for a lower sense. If you stick with the sensitivity for a long time, then you'll get used to how far you have to move the mouse to perform a certain action. You still build muscle memory with a higher sensitivity, but it's going to take a lot longer. Lastly, you'll just have more control over your character model with a lower sense. There aren't that many disadvantages of playing on a low sense. The only two that might be a problem is the fact that you can't react as quickly to something in the game. You also can't really perform a 360 turn that fast, but with enough desk space, it's possible. Next is desk space. Now, desk space plays a huge factor in if you should play on a high or low sense. If you have decent space on your desk where you can perform a full 360 in-game on a lower sense, then you're good. But if you don't have as much desk space, one, I recommend either buying a bigger desk or mouse pad, or two, play on a higher sense. This should be pretty obvious. The less desk space you have, the higher your sense will be. You have to think about how much space your keyboard is taking up as well. If you have a full-size keyboard, then you're probably not going to have a lot of space to work with. Tilting your keyboard is a good way to open up more space for your mouse if your desk is small. Tilting your keyboard can actually make it easier to hit keys as well, so try it out and see for yourself. I made a video video on finding the best sensitivity for you and your setup, so go watch that video as I go in depth with a secret tool that makes it a whole lot easier to find the perfect sense for you. Check the eye in the top right corner or check the description down below. If you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure to subscribe. It's been your boy Zxire, and I'm out. Peace.